From Brazil to the world, this is Profit Talks, a podcast produced by Hayek Global College and dedicated to exploring how you can ethically maximize profits. For more episodes, please visit hayekcollege.com/profit. Hello, everybody. Today I'm here with Jean-Baptiste Jaussaud, economist and entrepreneur. How are you, Jean-Baptiste?
Fine, thank you. Hello.
Jean-Baptiste, it's a true honor to have you here. Jean-Baptiste is from Marseille, France, and he is a very successful entrepreneur. He has founded several successful ventures in the life sciences and lifestyle business. He's also professor and co-founder of the Entrepreneurial Legitimacy at Aix Marseille University. And if I didn't get the pronunciation correctly, please help me, Jean-Baptiste, because I'm not a French speaker.
It's perfect, thanks.
So Jean-Baptiste, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to. What are your ventures?
When I invest on what I think my territory, Aix Marseille region, Provence region, is good at. And I think we have in this part of the world a very good lifestyle. We live well, we have a good weather and good habits to live. So I decided to invest in cosmetic, gastronomy, the business of the wellness of our region. And I also find that we have excellency in life science. We have a huge research center in Aix Marseille that creates patents and that are very talented in medical research. So it opened also business opportunities. So my business opportunity are the one of the place where I live.
So tell us, it's right now you're responsible for La Grande Savonnerie, which is one of the most prestigious soap companies in Marseille. And Marseille, for the people who don't know, I've been there. Jean-Baptiste is a friend of mine, and I was in Marseille. And when we were visiting there, we noticed how rich the country's history is in the soap industry, and how it goes back to the late centuries back, and when the soap was first discovered. And Marseille has this very rich story, and Jean-Baptiste is in charge of one of the most prestigious soap industries there. So tell us a little bit about La Grande Savonnerie, Jean-Baptiste. How did it first start, and how was the idea behind that?
La Grande Savonnerie is for me part of the local history. We produce soap in Marseille since 14th century. Maybe we start to sell soap since 11th or 12th century. So it's really linked to the local business and the local lifestyle too. And La Grande Savonnerie was the hugest European soap factory in the 19th century. But with time, these very successful brands decline and start to become more a real estate company, changing business in selling structure. They had factories, big one, and instead of the business inside, they turned the activities on changing the destination of the real estate and not focusing on the business anymore. And with time, since the 60s, it turns to a real estate company. At a point that they forget they used to be a soap factory. So I go to them and I reboot the brand La Grande Savonnerie because I remember the huge story of this brand. And very interesting thing is I was able to buy this brand for 500 euro, and to relaunch it, was cheap, so accessible for me, and to relaunch it, but telling about the economic history of the brand that gave economic history gave strength, gave what I call now legitimacy, entrepreneurship legitimacy to the brand. And having these 500 euro brands give you more legitimate to be an entrepreneur in in soap, so it was a good investment, let's say. And we built a factory. Went back to export. We do production. We reorganized the company. We made a historical startup. We had historical brand, but we've been a startup. We're building everything, but
Yeah.
in a way, we had strong legitimacy basis with this brand, and it gave us also guideline. How their success in the past was a way to see how to have success in the future. And I've seen in 1904, back in time, the brand La Grande Savonnerie was already sold in Japan, in the US. So um, world beginning of the 20th century, it was already a worldwide brand, so it gives us the information that to have success, we have to go to export, and our business is to sell soap by telling the story of
Mm.
the history of Marseille soap. And that's why we also open as a headquarter in Marseille, a Museum of Marseille Soap, to tell the story, to research about the story, to collect the piece that illustrates the story, and to never forget that we are kind of a capital of soap, and it opens door to new opportunities.
Yes, yes. I thought it was very unique, the story of Marseille Soap, with the whole context. Because back in the day, I don't know what, the 18th, 17th, 18th century, it was where the biggest soap brand of the world was in Marseille, right? The Marseille Soap. And it's back in the day, there was no chemicals in the soap, so it was all made by olive oil, pure olive oil. And as the industries around the world began to develop, other competitors started getting in the soap industry, right? So the Marseille lost its supremacy in the world as a soap provider, and lost a little bit of attraction. So all the big brands of that day, they lost their power and all collapse, while I don't know, the other companies like Dove and this Nivea and these other huge soap began making their way in the world, and the soap industry began like as we know it. But then after a while, people nowadays people are more worried about the being natural, right? Going back to the roots and not having so much more chemical in their bodies, and using something that's better for the skin and everything, which is in the fashion industry in France is something that's very widespread and useful. And that's where you come along as a new entrepreneur of this new wave, bringing the back to the roots of the late 18th century, the soap, that was more natural and better for your skin than actually the soap that we use today. And and when you started the startup, you started what you called a historical startup too, right? And that I think is a fantastic story, because at least I from Brazil, I'm not used to seeing people picking back the brands from a late century and making a startup, a new business out of nowhere with a brand. And as you said, it cost you 500 euros to get a very historical brand, and fantastic. And I thought that that's a really, really interesting turnaround story of a brand and everything. And so yeah, go ahead.
No, as you say, it's very interesting what you say, that big company bought uh, production capacity of soap. And even the big Marseille soap company, if you look at Jules Charleroux, is one of the greatest soap maker of the golden age of Marseille soap. He sold his soap factory to two brothers called the Lever Brother. They were the beginning of the group that we call now Unilever.
Hmm.
So Marseille soap business became maybe the biggest group of the world. The idea of using palm oil and olive oil was copied by American brand Palm Olive, using
Ah,
the two main elements, palm and
uh-huh.
olive. So they inspire the first wave, but our generation, we were like second wave that can focus on what hasn't been sold, which is the legitimacy, the history, why they did not keep. And I think this was enough to relaunch an entrepreneurship wave with people not only focusing of the capacity of produce a lot of soap, which
Mm-hmm.
was it was not a trendy, nice, fashionable business at time. You know, it was a
Yeah.
business. You make money, and this entrepreneur, they invest in shipping company. You know, in many other companies, they build two groups,
Yeah.
and they did not focus really in soap. But years after, we had kind of an economical heritage that gave economic legitimacy to be the capital of soap that allow us to relaunch it. And because I needed to illustrate this, you know, to when you have to give the value in a business, when you raise fund or other things, you have to illustrate this, and we choose the brand because I think brand is something keeping also values, you know, keeping history. It's of course about who know the brands, but about quantity, you know, but also about quality.
Yeah.
What can they perceive on the brand? And it's for me, when you had success in a sector, because economy is cycle, you have the opportunity to have success again on a brand revival. And
Yeah.
I think the vehicle of this brand revival opportunity is what we call entrepreneurship legitimacy. You are more legitimate because you are from the place, you know.
Ah, yes.
Uh,
So yeah, tell us more about entrepreneurial legitimacy. That's your topic in the Aix Marseille University, right? So I didn't. I understood that entrepreneurship legitimacy is when you have some type of information that other people don't have, like from your home country, Marseille. Or because you have a more power of using that tradition because you're from there. Or I don't know. I don't understand. Tell me more about the brand legitimacy,
well, there is
entrepreneurship
many
legitimacy.
there is many aspects of the entrepreneurship legitimacy. You can be legitimate because people know you. They give you by network a legitimacy because you have technology legitimacy. You have the best technology because you are first. There is many elements, but when you have a long history, like it was the case for La Grande Savonnerie in soap, when you can say this brand was on the place centuries ago, I think it make it stronger to the customer, to the investors. It have values, and
Yes.
the economy is made that some of these values is hidden in the forgotten brands, brand
Yeah.
like no entrepreneur still to cultivate, let's say, you know, but the market remember, you know, the market still have something, or
Yeah.
the history is relevant to sell to a specific target group. For instance,
Why didn't you start with a brand that was a new brand instead of getting an old brand? Do you think there was value just inside the brand that you got? Just the brand itself have a value? What do you think?
I think yes, a lot. It's first, it link you to an economic heritage, to a history, and this means you will be serious because you position yourself in the heritage of successful brands. It's not a joke. It's not something that you will do for 6 months and then you will change, or you have no rules and you only want to have money. It's, you know, the sector, you know the history of the sector, you know the value of the sector, and you adopt the value of former brand of the sector so strongly that you take the name. So you will respect the legacy. And it's shown that you are a more respectful entrepreneur than the one that just creates his own brand and wants to sell the product to make money. So first thing was important. Also, it's a comparative advantage in some targets group. For instance,
Hmm.
to go on Asiatic markets, especially China, which is a very huge market, being an old brand with history, being able to tell a story, make you stronger than, hello, I want to make soap and I want to address your 1 billion people country. It's weak argument saying we have a century old tradition of soap. We are the young generation of this century old tradition, and we will bring you one of the best soap of the world because you deserve it. Is another way to introduce the thing.
Yeah.
And for us, it was easier.
It's not just about how good the soap is for your skin or how good it smells or how good the soap is, the product, but it's about telling the story, right? People, they don't just buy soap, they buy a whole story, the finesse of the French and the Marseille history and all that comes with the soap, right?
Of course, every product now you can find for more or less cheap price. If you look, information now is free. Knowledge is not so expensive. You have access to Harvard MOOC for some €1,000. But experience will always cost a lot. And
Yes.
if you want to be in what we call for Marseille Soap affordable luxury, you have to give an experience. And our soap needed to be an experience and being linked to an old legacy of Marseille soap quality, of a lifestyle, a very nice way of life between the sea and the sun, is very important to, and for us was essential to have something to bring to the new world and to this market. Being really in the heritage of an old brand is a way to do an innovation. Being traditional is a way to do an innovation, I think.
So that's unique. We usually think about traditional and innovation as two opposite things, right? And now you are innovating by being more traditional than others. You're reviving this whole history and heritage, and it makes sense because there's the tourism industry in Marseille and in France and in Europe in general is very strong, right? There's a lot of people seeking to go and find the history of these countries, and is that why you use the museum as a medium for adding value to your company?
Yeah, of course. Marseille soap was so famous that it became a very copied product. We had a lot of copy, fake one, and almost all the soaps start to be called Marseille soap. So we needed to explain what is the difference between fake Marseille soap and the heritage we stand for, our tradition. So we had to create an experience again to have the time to explain this. If you want attention, people attention, it can cost millions euro in communication. You pay during the Super Bowl halftime. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you propose an experience, you have 10 minutes of attention, which will cost billions if you go through Super Bowl halftime, but it's for free. People even pay for the experience, and then they give you their attention to let you explain why your product is better. And you give also to them information for the skin, what happened on the skin, why vegetal soap, why animal skin, why we prefer vegetal than animal, why no color, no perfume is better for the skin than color and perfume, and what do you prefer? You can position yourself because you can understand the market. You get the skills to really choose. You are free to choose, let's say, your product after that. And for us, creating this experience with a museum was a nice way to acquire new clients, new customers, and to acquire customers that are activists of our product, of our way to see the product.
Yes.
They are able to convert other people, and with tourism, you have people from all around the world. Last year in the museum, we since the opening, we had 62 different nationalities, 62 different citizenships which visited. So if each one converts one people in his country back in time, that will convert one people, it's a huge way to explain our message and to explain what is Marseille soap. And we go to, I heard about it. Yeah, it's famous from Marseille too. I
Hmm.
exactly know what is it. And I am
Yes.
able to tell my brother, my cousins, my friends.
Yeah. Yes. I've been there. I've touched. I saw the person making the soap. You know, it's a completely different experience. I smelled it and I saw, and you can even personalize your own soap, right? For it. So I think it's a fantastic experience. Anybody going to Marseille, please go to the Marseille soap experience because you will have a fantastic time. I can tell you that. So Jean-Baptiste, I remember the story now, where we're talking about brands, where there's sometimes there's this discussion. It's you can't. It's not all about the brand. No, it's much more about the product, and people don't believe that the brand has so much power. But there's this very unique story with Rolls-Royce and Bentley when they were bought by Volkswagen and BMW. And I don't remember exactly who stayed with who, right? But I know there was a dispute between Volkswagen and BMW for who was going to keep the Rolls-Royce brand. And one company got all the factory and all the people with the brand, and then the other, I think Volkswagen in the end kept the brand. And what the story was, one company only kept the brand, the other kept all the factories of Rolls-Royce. And now the company that sells Rolls-Royce never had any of the original assets of Rolls-Royce. And they're still selling and having a lot of success with Rolls-Royce. What they had was just the brand. And that explains how powerful the brand. And today we buy Rolls-Royce. People who buy Rolls-Royce, I don't buy because I don't have the money for it. But people who buy Rolls-Royce, they 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 buy it for the experience, right? For having a Rolls Royce and everything, without even caring if the original company or the original assets who made the Rolls Royce is English, is an English company. It's not even English anymore. It's the Germans that have Rolls Royce. So it's also making a parallel with your story, right? So you're using the history and legacy of a brand that was eight from the 18th century, 19th century, and reviving it back to tell a story, and people buy the story also with the soap. So I think it's very powerful, and that's a
So
good lesson for anybody trying to build a brand.
I love this example, and because I know a very common point of Marseille and Brazil is that we love football. I
Yes.
often take the example for brands of football. If you look at a club, your father and you are supporting the same club, but the whole team changed. But the spirit of the club is the same from your grandfather to your son. And
Exactly.
that's maybe the same with brands. I see the brand as a club. You can change a lot of things, but you will have to keep the mind. You know, I would say, because you go on the
Automobile.
cars automobile
Yeah.
business. Henry Ford has a very useful quotation for me. He said, "You can take everything, but I keep my brand, my name, and my people, and I will rebuild everything." And for me, if we look to the techniques, it means the IP, intellectual property, is the brand, and the know-how, because a brand go with a know-how. It's not I can take every brand, I relaunch, and it have success. You have to connect correctly the the
Yes.
good brands with the good know-how. If you take an old Marseille soap brand and you do bad quality soap that burns skin, it will not work.
Yeah.
But if we do good soap, if you have a know-how, it's more powerful to show your efforts to have a good
Yes.
quality soap by taking an old brand and saying, "Look, I know this legacy. I pay respect too, and I'm doing this," than to start with a new brand, because you will have to re-explain everything. It's the same for football. When you create a team, you have to recreate the 11th player of the team. But keeping the spirit little by little make that even if you change everybody, you still play with the same spirit. And
Yes.
you have people say, yeah, this club have this type of football, of way to play football. But it doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything because the guys are changing. And maybe with modern football, they are maybe changing every 6 months, you know. But
Yeah.
the mind is not changing. And
Yeah.
for me, it's very interesting for brands is leading the know-how and the mindsets. And
Yeah.
know-how plus mindsets sometimes, and your example was fantastic, is more valuable than
Yeah.
other assets like the real estate or the production machine or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
I
But
really
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, because you but you can't also only rely on the brand, right? Because if you only get a brand, like you said, I think that that's a very good point, and you do a bad quality soap, it's not going to sell. It's not gonna. Your brand is gonna be hurt in the long run. And I love the example of the football, because that's something that every band wishes they was, right? Having fans that no matter what, they're gonna be cheering for that team, and if they switch the team, everybody's gonna look bad at them. No, you can't switch a team. If you choose a team at once in your life, you have to keep the team forever, right? And that's that is, if you can think about a challenge for people building a brand, you have to think about the football teams. And
Yeah,
I think that's more of a European and Latin American tradition. You know, if you pick a team, I'm Palmeiras, and my brother's Flamengo, and we've been I've been Palmeiras my whole life, and it doesn't matter who's playing there or who's not. I'm always Palmeiras. I'm cheering for them and everything. And in a sense like that, I also remember I'm a fan of Iron Maiden, the heavy metal band, and it made me remind of the story, because they have also a very powerful brand, you know, and people love them, and then when they go to shows, they're not well known as not the more commercial bands, like say Britney Spears or um, whoever, but they're very whoever is a fan of Iron Maiden is a very strong brand fan of Iron Maiden. And there was an interesting part in their history when Bruce Dickinson, which was the lead vocal, he left the band in the 1994 or something. And when he went for solo career, he thought he was going to be able to do it very well as he used to be, because he was the main person of the band. But no, he didn't do any success. Iron Maiden continued, but it wasn't as successful as Bruce Dickinson. When Bruce Dickinson came back to the band, he made a huge success again. And it was interesting because it was also what you said, the people, as you quoted Henry Ford. One thing is the brand, another thing is the people. If you have both things and you can do a unique product, then you can have these things separated or don't create as much value as they do when they're joined together.
yeah. And you know, to evaluate the value you create, for me
Yeah,
the technique is what you say, to have a activist customer. The dream of every brand is to have activist customer. I remember, you know, once Eric Cantona, which is a football player born in Marseille, to stay in the football, say, you can change your wife, you can change your religion, you can change your political party, but you can change football team. That means the value of this brand are to have strongly activist customers, and they are able to sell now everything: mobile, loan, every product. We maybe with the club all around the world, we have seen every product without
yeah,
the specific knowledge at the know-how at the beginning, but a strong brand. You talk about Iron Maiden. They are doing a beer, and people are very proud to drink the
yeah,
specific beer, because once you have activist customer, you have a lot of value and you can propose a lot of products. Not every product, not bad quality products, but it opens the mind of these people to open a lot of products. So what I love with brand resiliency, brand revival, whatever we call it, is you can build easily a community of activist customer that make the value. When you don't have the community, that's why you can buy the brand for cheap. because the value is not exactly the brand, it's the community, but it's the first ingredient, that will help you with the good know-how and the good mindset to create an activist community. And the activist community is a fantastic value.
Yes.
That's, you can pay for football team with huge debt because you trust that you can make money out of the brand.
Yes.
And for me, yeah, it's very interesting to see this community and to see sometimes the strongest community are not where we think.
Yeah.
Powerful actor like big bank, they don't have so much activists. I don't
Yes.
imagine people saying, "Yeah, I support JP Morgan, I love them," or this kind of thing, because it's image of boring company. They don't have supporters.
Yeah.
But some other brands, maybe sometimes with, as you say, very like with Iron Maiden, very specific community. People
Yeah.
able to recognize each other and to say, yeah,
Yeah.
we share this. We have something in common. This is strong, and this is not for every brand. And some of these ingredients of community building brands can be in the past, can come from our history. And we are in the center of what we call social media network, social media revolution. But
Yes.
we we invent last decade digitalization of social media. But we had star of social media before the digitalized social media. And we
Yeah.
can go back in history to buy this brand, the one available, and to relaunch it. And
Yes.
I think it's powerful. It's a new trend. I think will become bigger and bigger. Big groups
Yes.
started to do this,
Yes.
and yeah, marketing is so complicated that you can't say I'm not interested by free assets in marketing.
Yes, yes. I think if we can summarize it, it's first to build a successful brand. One way to look at it is you have to make activists and fans. And well, okay, the big question is how do you do that, right? How do you transform your people in activists and fans? Well, one way to do it is you make a promise and you keep your promise, and sometimes you even exceed your promises, right? And help people feel good about being with you. Like, for example, if you make a promise, my soap is the best, and I don't give a good soap, you're breaking a promise, so that kills the brand. And but you also put a new element in that thing, which is not also keeping the promise, but also having a brand that has historical heritage and bringing the brand resilience to the game. So it's as if we have an old team, a football team in Marseille that's long forgotten, but your grandparents knew about it and they cheered, and then they lost. Nobody saw it anymore, and now you're reviving. Instead of making a new team, you're reviving your grandparents' football team from way back in the past, and that's a powerful way of much easy way of bringing back the history and attaching value to your brand, right?
Yeah, because it appeals to value in marketing, also to nostalgia marketing,
Yes.
also to legacy, to it give more sense on what you do. You're not consuming, you are connecting back with what your parents, your grandparents were doing. And I think, it's kind of a market correction, like we had in the 80s, these famous entrepreneur raiders, I
Okay.
think we have a new wave of entrepreneurs which are market correctors. And I hope I will be part of this wave. Is the evolution of capitalism lets survive some company that shouldn't, and let die some company that should not. Maybe sometimes because of too much state action and strange state action. And when a company died and should not die, I think if you will launch it, it will it will have an appeal and it will grow up again immediately. That's a way to look for this company that should not disappear, but disappear
Yeah.
for any reason, and you go back and you relaunch it. And what had success have success again. And on soap, we had huge success with natural soap. Then we turned to shower gel. Then now we are realizing what is shower gel, that is perfuming skin more than it is washing skin.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going back, and you need market correctors that say, I want to sell digital, internet, I'm in progress, thanks to modern capitalism. But our market made a mistake on the product. I go back in time in what was a better product 30 years ago, and I propose you to reopen a new market. And
Wow.
if you say it well, people come back and say, okay, there is a market correction. We go to shower gel because of a fashion, a trend, but this trend is not sustainable. And it's very interesting for me because I look in the history and I find out that in 12th, 13th century, in the Middle Age, in Europe, we had a huge debate to define what mean dirty and what mean clean.
Mm-hmm.
And a religious camp say that, let's say, clean mean uh, covered, to cover your face with white powder,
Mm-hmm.
to don't show your legs, and dirty mean show your body, have a bath, because it's um, at that time for them in the Middle Age,
Mm-hmm.
having bath was something sexual. You were naked with other people.
People didn't take a
Sometimes,
bath.
yeah. So taking a bath, it was dirty because you show your body, you use the water, you you put oil on your body, which was oil was for food. It was crazy, and it was mentally on the moral side dirty. And clean
Mm-hmm.
was something moral. I cover myself, I put powder on my face, and I am more moral, so I am clean. And the scientists at the same period start to say no, clean is to wash yourself
Yes.
and to smell clean instead of not washing yourself, smelling bad, and hiding this with perfume and
Yeah.
smelling perfume. That is dirty. Clean is the science. You take soap, the dirt goes away, and you are clean. And they fight. They had this strong debate for 2, 3 centuries. And end of 14th century, the scientists' side won. We say that using soap is clean and not washing yourself is dirty. And this was the case, and soap was worldwide use since World War II. And then we start again with shower gel to perfume our skin, but not to wash inside the pores, really inside the skin, but to cover with animal fat and perfume. And I think these habits, which look like middle age, will not stay for long. And we are coming back to the good way that we use from 14 to 20th century. If
Mm-hmm.
you look in history, shower gel and perfuming is the not the main way, but in the 20 last year, it's the main way. And
Yeah.
if you have this strong principle of capitalism, if it's cheap, I buy. If it's something at the top, I sell it. It's time to buy and to invest in soap because people will realize more and more that this is a better solution. And
Yes.
after, maybe they will go the wrong way again in another decade or century. But we will come back, whatever, to this solution because even if it's old, it's the best one.
Yes. I think that's fantastic. That's a fantastic insight. You are bringing a concept of economics, which is the business cycle, right? That there's a downturn and there's a boom and a bust, to a more long-term patterns of habits of the people, and how the brands come back, not the brands, but maybe the tendencies of people's behavior come back and forth, right, to influence this. And people's behavior has changed a lot, but we have to adapt everything in our lives. So this is a major thing happening. It's probably one of the parts of your business cycle where this is a major move in how people behave. And looking at the moment we are, and and how is what we're doing now, it's obviously affecting the tourism industry, right? Tourism has never been so weak, I guess, in Europe, and probably in Marseille too, for I don't know how many years, and for obvious reasons, because people simply can't get out of their houses, right? Let alone travel to another country. And but how do you think things are gonna come back after this? Do you think we're gonna do a rebound, or what's the behaviors that people are gonna have with the cosmetic, the soap industry, and tourism?
Well, I think for tourism it will be hard, but not impossible. It means a different channel with totally different mindsets, with totally different media, with totally different uh, way to behave and to buy products. So it will be hard for touristic institution to talk to target groups that are less homogeneous than before the crisis. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe some will have to find out new business model, to find out new way. It will be harder to mix people as we used to do. And that's a huge challenge, how to mix people, how
Yes.
to say, yeah, we have an advertising in France showing the the birthday of a grandmother. She's kissed by her grandsons, and 10 minutes after, and they show the image after, she is dying in the hospital because the kiss give her the coronavirus.
Yes.
I think this is the bad way, to start to be scared one of the other is a global problem that we will face 100% in tourism. It's always in leisure and easy things that you face strongly the big society problems. You know,
Yes.
and I think tourism problem will be the fear of each other. And
Yes.
I used to do soap um, experience with children and sometimes old people. Will it be possible in few months? Will it be possible after this terrible advertising? I was criticizing in my last family discussion here, and I think these are the true issue, the big society problem that we will face in easy and simple action. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to restaurants, does it still a pleasure if you fear a virus? If you look at everybody, uh, even if you trust the team of the restaurants, the other customers, who
Yeah.
touch what? When you go to the toilet, who touch the door of the toilet when you go? That's the everyday life detail, which will be hard to to solve, and it's important to focus on detail. You know,
Yes.
to give serenity to people in small detail. Uh,
Yes.
I think going back to Marseille uh, is possible. It will be hard, but very possible to go back to our level of tourism before the crisis. But we will need soap again, to tell that we have experience to fight again bacteria and viruses and
Exactly. You need soap to wash your hands and protect against the
exactly,
virus.
because we have a tradition of washing hands. So I think we will have to use it as an argument, and then we are kind of already doing this. But yeah, the trauma for me is in little things. So to find out the new model, to find out the new target group expectation will take times, and you will have sometimes misunderstood failure, I think.
Yes.
Super project of the world before that will not work anymore for detail. And
Yes.
new opportunity also to have success, but by understanding the new rules. But it's hard when you did not finish your investment amortization and the rule are wildly changing strongly. So yeah, that's a true difficulty. How to find the capacity to remake investments when some old world model are not amortized yet, and
Yeah.
we need investment to the new world.
Yeah.
That's challenging.
Yes. Yes. You touched on a tough problem of entrepreneurs and investors, right? That have to deal with the risk. If you invested right before the pandemics on a world you had no idea that this was going to happen, nobody could predict it. Literally, nobody could predict it. And then that happens. You're left in a place where you had your investment and you're still amortizing your investment. You were expecting the returns that you're not gonna have. There's no way it's gonna come back, at least not in the time that you were expecting it to happen. But at the same time, it opens opportunities for new businesses to show up that will happen on this new world where people have new behaviors, and also because other businesses are failing, there's possibilities that new ones will show up. And what is the tips that you give for the people who are having ideas now for starting a new venture?
I think the notion of legitimacy will become more and more important. You have to be legitimate. You have to be sometimes, we can say, necessary, waited. I was waiting you, even in entertainment, in not basic needs sector, but you have to be necessary, legitimate. I know why it's you that invest in this sector. You are the right person at the right place, proposing me the right offer. And to know this, I think legitimacy is the new key element to focus on. And I think it will become a key indicators of investors in the new world, in the new finance. Because if you look at startup, 10 years after, 500 are successful and 95 are not successful, or most of the time already closed, already died. I think focus on your legitimacy, because these are the main reason you will be in the five that are successful 5 years ago. If you are legitimate, customer come to you. If you are legitimate and you have a good management, talents come to you. If you are legitimate, investor come to you, because investor can bring you the money.
Mm-hmm.
Co-worker can give you the energy, the time, the talents you hire them for. Customer will, if you provide the service, will bring you the money. But the only thing coming only for you, from yourself, from you as an entrepreneur, is the legitimacy. Why everybody feel comfortable with you, your brand, and your way to manage this, and to go on. And you express this with your brand, but
Mm-hmm.
beside, it's your management, it's your entrepreneurship style that is
Yes.
judged. And I think we need to call this legitimacy and to focus on this and to learn people how to improve on this. Because
Mm-hmm.
if they improve, they will be on the five successful one. Whatever the situation of the economics, this will stay.
Yes.
Whatever coronavirus, whatever, if you are legitimate, people need you.
When you were talking about this legitimacy and being the entrepreneur legitimacy, I remember the Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs has a very good talk that he gave to Stanford, and he was going through his story, right, and explaining how he connected the dots between his experience with the things that were very unrelated for the tech world. For example, he did calligraphy in he did a course in calligraphy just because he liked calligraphy, and it had nothing to do with technology. Why would a programmer need to know calligraphy? Makes no sense. But then he explained that, you know, when they were doing the Mac, he used the fonts that he made unique fonts from what he learned in calligraphy, and that made it special. That made it's a different story, you know. It was something that it was more than just a computer. It had a story behind it and everything. And I believe that's what you're saying, legitimacy, right? You have something that it's unique, and you bring to the table that it makes a difference on whatever you're selling.
Yeah, I love your example. The challenge at that time, the competition wasn't only to provide a new computer. It was to provide new opportunity, to
Yes.
open the world to, some say a new window, some others say to something else. They were appealed to think different, you know, he's saying. And
Yes.
I think that's important to say you are legitimate by answering the good question. You know, some say, yeah, what is important is to say why you are doing this. And Steve Jobs wanted to change the
Yes.
world by changing the
Yes.
communication. And I think it's important. Why is the good question? Your success is the good answer.
Yes.
And
Very good.
finding the good answer is entrepreneur main decision, most important decision
Is
after,
asking the right question.
yeah, and ask question, good answer after the main task. You can hire talented people to help you. Money, you can find richer people to fund you. Customer, you need to survive. You will find people are waiting for good solution. There is always customer for good product. But
Yes.
the good question, the good answer, it's about you. But it mustn't become something uh, like yoga, you know, too high in the sky. You know, it have to be concrete. You know, we are looking
Uh-huh.
for uh, effectiveness. You know,
Yes.
people that ask the good question and answer the good question, not because they have time to and they want to do philosophy, but because there is a need, there is a
Yes.
pain point, and you will solve it. If you
Yes.
are problem solver, there is money for you because
Yes.
people like the problem to be solved. If you have existential question and existential answer, maybe it's not good for entrepreneurship. You know?
That's a great point. And it's not just about asking questions or
Yeah.
being a philosopher about the questions, but going at a pinpoint of what exactly is not a need that's not being met, or what people want. Maybe the people that want that don't even know they want it yet, and you're asking the right question at the right place at the right time, and you have the tools to address that question, know how to
That's
solve that problem.
why, for me, back to basics, you know, market studies are very important. As
Hmm.
you ask the good question to market studies. If everything is in your mind, and I say my vision is a world like this and my mission alone in my office, most of the time I will be wrong. You need to be concrete to ask people. When you don't know, ask. You need to be humble. You know, when you don't know,
Yes.
ask. And market studies are so important things that now, you know, it all comes to a new matter, you know, which is go to market. We don't talk anymore about market studies, about marketing, about distribution. It's go to market strategy
Yeah.
all together, because all are necessary block to put together. And I like this vision, you know, the go to market for growth hacking. It's marketing of marketing in a way, but
Yeah.
I like the idea beside that all go together, and you start with the good question, the market studies, but very effective way to ask the good question, not uh, it's making a dream concrete, being an entrepreneur, not making concrete need of money a dream. You know what I mean? You have to go on the right direction, and to go to the market, to the concrete, to the product, to the problem solving. Not saying, yeah, I want to reinvent and I will dream about and I will, because you can lost a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, and a lot of yourself also. If you put yourself literally on the wrong direction, you will feel empty. And creating company, making project can break you. If you learn the good technique with the good people, and you are a teacher, you are an entrepreneur for this, or giving
Yeah.
the good tools, the good solution. If you took the good tools, you can do it on the good way. I make my dream a concrete product, not
Yes.
a concrete project, my dream, because it's not working. It's
Yes.
still a job, It's not a hobby. It's not a. It's still strategic. It's something. At some point, you have to work
Yes.
hard, and on the good direction.
Yes.
Ask the good question on how to work, but not ask question instead of working. And
Yes.
I think that's the wrong way we are sometimes going. You have a lot of projects, but some projects are beautiful dreams, and
Yes.
people want dreams to be fun, and it's not
Yes.
possible. And
Yes. Yes.
if we start to believe this, it will be hard to go back on earth. If we remember its job, I think entrepreneurship will have a hugest impact in the world, and I hope, and I think it's a solution to a lot of problems that we have nowadays, from economics to ecology.
That's very inspiring. Very good.
Mm.
I I learned a lot today from our talk, Jean-Baptiste. Do you have any concluding remarks?
Oh, no, it was a pleasure for me also to do this, and I hope people will listen to it, and it will inspire them to do their own projects, to agree or maybe to disagree, and to tell me I was totally wrong. But any feedback or inspiration, any way to continue this talk are very valuable for me, and I hope what we did, it was nice, my friend, to do, but would be useful.
Excellent. So as you heard, everybody, feel free to comment and ask us questions, and we'll be glad to do a second round with Jean-Baptiste with your questions that you address. So please feel free. And thank you very much, Jean-Baptiste. It was a very huge pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. See you.
See you. Thanks for listening to Profit Talks. Now, do you have any comments or other business-related question? If so, please send us, and we'll be glad to explore it in future episodes. Also, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. We are on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and many others.